For connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is pain and suffering. And we're going to look at how pain is inevitable and suffering is optional. That may seem controversial, but we'll dig in a little bit. But before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light, lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together. Vigorously rub your hands together to feel the friction, the temperature, the pressure, the motion, the tickling and tingling when you stop. And allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables us to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning. Good morning, Rosalind. Good morning and welcome to everybody else who's joining us. So today we're talking about pain and suffering, and we often think that they are one and the same thing. And I know we've spoken about this before, but I think it's a really valuable thing to remember that or to even begin to entertain that pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. Suffering is optional. So how can that possibly be the case when there's so much pain and suffering in the world? Well, if we look at pain is, it's a physical experience. Good morning, Gia. Good evening to you. So good to have you joining us. Welcome back. We're talking about pain and suffering. And so it's inevitable that we will experience pain in our lives. Physical pain, emotional pain, psychic pain. That's an experience. It's a visceral experience, right? It's something that we experience in our bodies, and it's I want to say in a way it's objective, although we really truly can mitigate and manage our pain in a multitude of ways. But yeah, so I mean, that's a whole conversation. Maybe we'll be able to be looking at that today as well. So the suffering part is when we ruminate. The suffering is when we take that pain and then we make stories about it, or we take that pain and we fight against it. Like if we look at the pain of the world, for instance, if we witness and experience someone else's experience of pain, we internalize that. So we're generating it in a way, right? And then we can get on a roll. around it. We can create an elaborate dialogue. We can ruminate about it. And this was such a great word, perseverate. I've used it here before. A friend, that was a word that they used a lot. And you know the word persevere, to continue on with. So to perseverate is kind of like chewing this and per perpetuating some kinds of thought patterns. And we're talking a lot about how we create our own realities. Like, that's a big part of our conversation on these morning get-togethers. And so the way that we create suffering is, I think the biggest way that we create suffering, or that we engage in suffering, is by resisting things being as they are. So we can feel the pain of it. We can feel the physical pain, the emotional pain, the psychic pain. And then in our resistance to that, believing it should be some other way, our lack of accepting things as they are. And I don't mean that, this is always an interesting conversation when we talk about acceptance, because it doesn't mean complacency. It means recognizing things as they are. It doesn't mean saying this is the way things are and this is the way things always will be, and therefore I have no culpability or accountability, or no uh, um, license or opportunity to create change. That's not what I mean by acceptance. Um, we can say this is how things are, and we get to create something new or something different. We can get to create change. But when we don't accept things as they are, we create suffering because we are in denial. That's really what this notion of resistance is about, is that we're in denial of the way things are. It's only when we know where we are that we can figure out how to get where we're going. If you think about, for instance, if you're trying to get directions, you can't get directions if you don't have a starting point, right? And the starting point is knowing where we are. And so Gia says, what's the difference between emotional pain and psychic pain? Would love to know from you. That's an interesting question. I don't, I'm making that distinction, Gia. Um, and I don't think I had it defined for myself. So I'm just going to say psychic pain being an experience of kind of maybe less personalized is what I'm meaning. And it begs the question. I should look up and see if there's a definition of psychic pain. But I think that we can experience like a zeitgeist, like a collective energy, and that isn't necessarily coming from ourselves. So, and maybe it shows up as emotional pain. Like I've had times when I've just been really kind of out of sorts or overtaken by an emotion, or this energetic experience that kind of translates into emotion that doesn't have any particular provocation in my life. Like there's no circumstance that is provoking that feeling or that experience or that discomfort. There's nothing that I can point to that is generating that. And so it's maybe more of a collective kind of experience. Let me just see if we can get a definition here. Hey Siri, define psychic pain.
Okay, I found this on the web for define psychic pain. Check it out.
Oh, this is interesting. I don't know if I should be, let's see. Let's see. Says, although physical pains are usually well attended to, clinicians sometimes overlook and neglect intensely experienced psychic pains. Here in this article, I focus on psychic pains, considering how these experiences might be related to pain stemming from physical injury, etc. Well, so psyche. Hey Siri, define psyche.
Psyche means a Hellenistic personification of the soul as female, or sometimes as a butterfly. The allegory of Psyche's love for Cupid is told in the Golden S by Eke.
That's not really what we were looking for, but the psyche is our whole beingness, maybe. So when we're talking about psychic pain, we're talking maybe about this greater sense of beingness. But I think also this interconnection can really work. So Rosalind says, thinker versus the feeler, thoughts versus emotions. So maybe thoughts are related to the psychic or psyche. It could be. I mean, I think that there's like an angst that of being that I'm also referring to when I talk about psychic pain. And a lot of that is driven by the way we think. So I know I've mentioned that years ago I had the opportunity to volunteer at a multi-day conference sort of thing. It wasn't even a conference, it was a teaching, I guess, by the Dalai Lama. And the one thing that I took away from that has stuck with me is his saying that all suffering is a result of misconceptualization. So what does that mean? It means the way we're thinking about something is what is causing our suffering. And so the way we think about things is not immutable. It's not fixed. It's something that we can change. It's something that we can impact, that we can alter, that we can cultivate, that we can design in certain ways, the way that we think. We often get very attached to our beliefs and what we think is our knowing. There are very, very few things that we can know, I think. Yeah, so that's, try that out, see if that seems true to you. But how many things do we absolutely know with pure certainty? And what I mean by that is to go beyond belief, to really know. And I think that when we allow ourselves to question what we know, we can start to recognize that maybe we know a lot less than we thought we did. And as we move into that not knowing, as we move into that uncertainty, the world and life can reveal itself in very oftentimes magical and mysterious ways, because it is our very assertion that we know something that disallows us from seeing anything else. And so I think the one of the very few things I know is that there's more going on here than I have any concept of. Like that there's other dimensions of experience and realities and interactions and interrelationships between things and experiences. There's way more going on here on this planet as it within the context of my human experience. There's way more going on here than I have any idea about. And um, that that is the one true thing in my life. It feels to me more true than anything, is from an experience that I had when I was about 15. And I call it my enlightenment experience, where all of a sudden I was on the phone and I said, I know. And all of a sudden I was catapulted into this other experience of being where I was knowing. There was no I, there was no time or space, there was no fact-based knowledge per se. It was just this expansive consciousness that I had the opportunity to connect to that in a conscious way. And it was the one experience, the most true thing of my life, the most whole and complete thing of my life. And it opened a peephole into a portal of awareness that there's a whole lot more going on here than I have any idea about. I say that moment gave me my life and ruined my life and gave me my life. And why I say it ruined my life is because since then, my life has been about finding access to that state again, to finding connection again with that essence of being, like that truth. That was like the one greatest truth that I know that, like, or it knows me. It's almost like it is the truth that I live into and see as a glimmer in the distance, and yet when I reach it, I find it elusive. But it's something that is a foundation. And so from that kind of context, our experience of knowing life is very what's the word? It's a caricature almost. It's like what's real, what's not real. That's the one most real thing that I've experienced in my life. Good morning, Kimberly. Welcome. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. It's so good to see you here with us. Been a long time. So anyway, when we look at this notion of suffering, what are we creating? How are we generating that suffering as distinct from pain? You know, pain is something that we physically experience. And now we get back to the other part of that conversation. We can shift our brains. We can shift the way that we think and the way that we're processing information and processing signals to actually reduce pain and eliminate pain, potentially. So if suffering is the result of false conceptualization, I guess the question is, what is true conceptualization? Maybe all conceptualization is manufactured in its way. Because in this state that I was trying to describe, that's kind of ineffable, difficult to, impossible to truly capture in the description. It was beyond thought. It was beyond time. It was our unbounded being, a state of unbounded being that we all hear about, right? That we all, we hear who I am is spirit in physical form, right? Who I am is life expressing itself through this unique vessel. But what is that? And we hear about this when people have near-death experiences where they go into this vastness that is disembodied or unembodied, that is beyond embodiment. I want to mention again this wonderful TED Talk. And at the moment, it's interesting, her name is escaping me, but of a brain scientist, neuroscientist who had a stroke. So if you look up TED Talk, oh my gosh, I've forgotten her name at the moment, but it's so powerful and profound how it's talking about right brain, left brain, and the right brain is this expansive sense of self that doesn't, she was moving into that experience, and all of a sudden she was aware of all the molecules of her body, and there was no distinction between her body and the surrounding atmosphere, and she was one with everything, and it was beyond time and space. And how could this big consciousness even ever fit into this tiny little body? Thank you, Dido to the rescue. As always, I so appreciate you. Jill Bolte Taylor. Please look up this TED Talk from, Dido, you are my hero. Thank you. My Shiro. So it's a TED Talk and it's called My Stroke of Insight. And it's absolutely brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And it's such a beautiful and interesting and amazing kind of paradoxical essence of our experience here as humans being, that we are that expansiveness, and we are this tiny little container that is holding infinity, that is holding universes. And believing with all our hearts and souls in the limitations that we impose upon ourselves, believing that our essence is this fleshly thing, and that all the drama that we create in our world, all the pain, all the suffering, is we believe that to be real. And I guess it is our belief in it being real that allows us to have the fullest richness of these experiences. But what if it's a dream? What if it's a dream? And what if we actually have the ability to direct that dream to varying degrees? But what if we can make it a lucid dream where we get to be conscious creators by curating our stories, curating our experiences, setting our intentions, and bringing forward that unbounded vastness that we are, bringing that forward into creating this magnificent drama that is our lives. So that's it for this morning. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. And I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel, and my Facebook page, Mira Rubin. And I invite you. It would be awesome. I would be so grateful if you would like and follow my channels. There's a link in the description to my YouTube channel and to the Enlightened World Network YouTube channel. Please follow and like. And as always, it is such a privilege and delight for me to have the opportunity of share and explore together. I'm so grateful to you. So until next time, so much love.